潤んだ瞳の奥に変わらぬ君の姿どこまで世界は続くの途絶えた日々の言葉
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Whole misadventurous, piteous overthrows do with their death bury their parents' strife. Actually, not so much. Romeo X Juliet is an anime series directed by Fumitoshi Ozaki and written by Reiko Yoshida, who based the story off of what is arguably Shakespeare's most famous play. The story begins when Lord Laertes Montague, head of the Montague family, systematically cuts his way through the ruling Capulet family and their retainers in a bloody coup. Only one member of the House of Capulet survives. The 2-year-old Capulet Harris, Juliet Capulet, who was spirited away by the captain of the guard and a few retainers that made it out alive. 14 years later, Lord Montague is the tyrannical leader of all of Neu Verona. The surviving Capulet retainers are hiding beneath a theater company run by a sympathetic playwright named, you guessed it, William Shakespeare. Juliet is disguised as a boy named Odin, and she has no idea who she really is. She's continuously told that she'll find out everything about her past on her 16th birthday. When she can sneak out, she fights the oppressive Montague regime as the Red Whirlwind, a vigilante for the people. As the Red Whirlwind, she gets into a bind and is saved by Romeo Montague, the idealistic only child of Lord Montague. One case of mistaken identity later, which is very fitting for something based on a Shakespeare play, Juliet ends up alone at the Rose Ball, which is being held at the Montague's estate. She runs into Romeo again, and so begins their tragic tale of star-crossed romance. I watched this series because I was interested to see what the creators did with this very famous story, and I'm always automatically interested whenever any story gets retold from another culture. This was my first ever shoujo, and I figured it was a good one to start off with. I didn't think this series was much of a credit to Shakespeare, not that I expected it to be, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. But I don't think that it would make him roll over in his grave either. I personally have no problems with adaptations of Shakespeare. I'm not a purist. Hell, one of my favorite movies is Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. But a warning to anyone expecting an anime version of the play, you're going to be disappointed. But I'm not sure what Shakespeare fans expect, since the play is 5 acts long and takes place over the course of 4 days, and the anime is 24 episodes long and takes place over the course of a month at least. Some of the characters are absolutely nothing like the characters they are named after. There's characters from other Shakespeare plays in this as well. Mercutio, is the most noticeable example, being far more like Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings than Romeo's wonderfully eccentric best friend. In some cases, I think this worked really well. One of my favorite characters was Antonio, who's the tag-along kid, but is a competent and smart one, unlike the annoying child sidekicks that plague many series. None of Shakespeare's Antonios were children. Francisco and Curio are also a pair of great characters, but again, those guys are more like those guys from Tsubasa than Shakespeare's characters of that name. Also, I liked the ill-fated Petruchio. What happened to him caused me to shed the only tears that I did during this whole series. This anime does have a pretty big cast of side characters, and they're all relatively well written for the small space they're allowed. But this series is rightly carried by the romance of its two title characters. There's controversy over whether or not Shakespeare meant Romeo and Juliet to be a tragedy, or if it was really a satire. But this anime leaves no room for doubt. This is played straight as two people who fell in love at first sight. But the anime rounds out their love story enough so when they get married, it seems sudden, but doesn't have the "where the hell did that come from" effect that the marriage of Romeo and Juliet of Shakespeare has on a more cynical audience. Romeo and Juliet's romance was sweet and not overdone to make me feel nauseated. Their marriage to each other was one of the better moments of the series. Oh, there was a meadow scene in this too, unfortunately similar to this one, but unlike Twilight, the meadow scene in the anime didn't cause me to laugh out loud or to want to hit myself repeatedly in the head till I forgot what I just saw. There was a fair amount of angst in this too, as expected, since Shakespeare made the original emo character. But on topic, loving the son of your enemy is honestly pretty tragic, and again, the angst didn't get on my nerves. Neither did Juliet's lamentation over not being able to kill people. And she really should have been up for it if you think about it, since the Capulet retainers and later Juliet are creating a revolution to take down the evil Duke. There was a fair amount of political intrigue in this as well, a lot of shady going-ons with the politicians. The nobles treat the people in a style befitting the French aristocracy, which makes the fact that the people get all 1789 on their asses entirely karmic. But sadly, there are no bloody riots. Juliet comes forth to be the voice of the people. There are some very well animated fight scenes that were exciting to watch. There was plenty of action in this series, but all of the fighting kind. Really, Romeo and Juliet is the chastest pairing I've seen in a long time. There are Disney pairings with more heat than that. Animated Disney pairings. This didn't bother me that much, but when you look at the original source material, which I think has some of the best pickup lines in history, palm to palm is Holy Palmer's kiss. Also, there's the fact that Juliet talks about how she wants to get it on with Romeo, so I left feeling a little cold from their romantic scenes together. The animation of this series was pretty high up there and pleasing to the eye, with beautiful backgrounds and flower petals flying everywhere. There were random CGI bits that Gonzo is infamous for, however, but there wasn't much of that. The music of this anime was great, as expected, since Hitoshi Sakimoto scored this, who's most famous for his work on Final Fantasy. The voice acting wasn't anything too memorable, except for Kazuhiko Inoue, who played William. He made him just campy enough to be entertaining, but not enough to offend fans of Shakespeare, since Shakespeare could have been gay or bisexual. I was excited for this dub when I saw the trailer for it, but since I've seen this clip, I think it might make my ears bleed instead.
Woe betide you if Conrad should spot you wearing that.
Looking out stern.
What's this about?
Say, know you of a place where irises bloom? Anywhere?
Wherefore irises?
Tell me.
I fain would know your purpose ere I speak.
Please, fair Cordelia.
Not a word.
But
Thou's faux old Englishe make it thou soundeth like a bloody twat. Or to anyone who finished high school, anyway. But I never judge a show on its dub, and I'm giving this show an 8.5 out of 10. Because even though I enjoyed this show quite a bit, I was never altogether impressed, either at its ability to tell a story, get me to care about the characters, or to make me think in a way I never have before, like Shakespeare has always done. Recommendations. Well, this series is strictly romance, and if you don't like romance, stay far away from this one. But if you're looking for a romance that actually sucks you in and takes you on an exciting ride that gives you highs as well as the predictable low at the end, spoiler, they both die, then check out Romeo X Juliet. So give me your hands if we be friends. Auf Wiedersehen.